Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and it's not Spawn year. It is day 73 of my comic review video day calendar, and today we're going to do something kind of weird. I am shooting this after midnight, which is very appropriate because today's comic is a random issue of Batman Gotham after midnight. It seems like the appropriate time to review this, not only because midnight is in the title, but because it's a spooky, eerie, macabre, bizarre, late night sort of affair. I mean, Batman's usually working late at night, but in this particular case, I cannot imagine even reading this at like 10 or 11 in the morning. This is one of those weird books that is interesting to look at real late at night because you might get up in the morning and go, did I actually read that? Or did I dream that? It's the kind of thing that like is only going to really hit you and make any kind of sense at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So yeah, Gotham After Midnight number 10. This is, I think, the only issue of this I own. I didn't know anything about this. This is another one of those issues where I don't know why this is in my collection. And I don't know what happened to it because this particular copy of this has a big crease down the middle. Like somebody folded it and put it in their back pocket or their glove box or accidentally sat on it or something. And, I didn't horribly impact my reading of this, but this is certainly not a mint copy of this issue. So yeah, 10 of 12. This is a maxi series, and you usually wouldn't want to read number 10 of something that you hadn't looked at with anything before, but this is the silly exercise that we're doing here on Not Spawn Year. I had this issue. I've read it now. I've read 1/12 of Gotham After Midnight and 2 away from the penultimate issue. I don't know what I'm doing. We're 1 away from 2 from the end, 1 from the penultimate. I don't know why I said it like that. Like I said, it's after midnight, and I'm in a weird mood now because I read this. This is strange. This is bewildering. This is some funky Batman right here. This is written by Steve Niles. I was gonna say I've read 1/12 of this, and I want to look at the rest of it because I gotta know what else is in this book. It's really strange. I didn't have any trouble following this, and I think there's not a lot of intentional recapping really, but it wasn't too difficult. Like there's a little bit of Batman like still having feelings and talking about things that happened in the previous issue. So in that way, there's recapping in that I'm getting a light shed on what it is that he is opining about. So Steve Niles, really weird how sometimes things will kind of gel together or get connected on the channel. Very recently, Austin and I on The Request had to talk about the episode of Deadliest Warrior from Spike TV with the final episode of that show, and it was vampires versus zombies. That was a show that would take 2 different kind of characters or types of people from history and try to quote unquote scientifically pit them up against each other and see who would win in a fight. And the last one, they just went hog wild and crazy, and the series got canceled. They thought they might make more, but they went, okay, we're going to do like 2 fictional things. And anyway, Steve Niles, it's a very strange, very odd show, and not very scientific at all, but it was certainly entertaining. And anyway, Steve Niles was in that episode. He was on the vampire side. They would get experts to come in and try to make cases for their side, and he was on the panel in that episode. Steve Niles worked on 30 Days of Night, and he also wrote some of Spawn the Dark Ages, which I actually enjoyed quite a lot of in Spawn Year when I talked about that. That's Covenant Spawn. I really like his outfit, and this guy really likes the more gothic, as I said, macabre kind of stuff. And this is drawn by the absolute perfect artist for this particular material. and I've never really cared for his artwork, but it's just appropriate. It's just right for this. It's Kelly Jones. Kelly Jones draws the weirdest Batman covers. I have several covers from him from the early 90s, and he's always got these really tall Batman ears where, like, you think a super long Batman cape is impractical, but imagine trying to be stealthy with that and trying to go through doors or even getting in the Batmobile. Like, think about that. You'd either have to have retractable bat ears or you'd have to have like an open top Batmobile, and then you just look stupid, right? And think about all the other wings that are often on a Batmobile. You've got these ears sticking out, and then you've got these wings and things. It's like my Batmobile looks like a bat, but only if my head is sticking out of it. Or you'd have to have a really tall cab. But he also very often has these kind of insane, angry or sadistically smiley Batman faces on his covers. There's this period where he's drawing Batman, and he won't even look like this always inside the issues if memory serves, and he'll just have like these weird notches in the cowl. He has this whole other strange look for Batman. This is a more classic Batman costume than he draws in some of those covers, but his Batman is still real bulky, where he just looks like all he eats is like 5 whole chickens every day, and he's insanely muscular, and he looks like Venom often looks when he's drawn with the huge shoulders and the crazy pecs and all of that. The art is just bizarre. I really appreciate that the cover lets you know what you're getting yourself into, especially if for some reason you're an idiot like me and you're reading this and you haven't bothered with any of the rest of this yet. So this is going to be a story where Batman is fighting what looks like a Nosferatu man holding a Valentine's. I wish I'd reviewed this on Valentine's Day. A Valentine's like heart box, like a chocolate box with a physical heart in it. Like, this is all you need to know. If that appeals to you, you will probably enjoy this comic. Okay, so 2008, pretty late Kelly Jones. I don't know if I've seen any of his art this far in, and I always talk about this with this year, but my wife and I got married in '08. This is another one of those things where it's kind of crazy to think that this is as old as it is now. So I'll get into what's happening here. So there's this new villain. His name is Midnight, and he's yet another one of these villains. It's a little derivative. We've kind of been here and done this before, but I guess the thing that makes it kind of fresh and new again is just how strange it looks. So you get this guy named Midnight, and he wants to try to do what he thinks Batman is after, but better than Batman. How many Batman villains have this? Ra's al Ghul. Like, you're trying to clean up the city. Well, I can actually do that efficiently and create law and order. And the reason you can't do that, Batman, is because you're short-sighted and all you care about is like helping the little people on the street, because when you were a kid, your mom and dad got shot and you don't want that to happen to any other kid. But you got to look at the bigger picture, and what you should really be doing is taking out everybody. Oh, let's look at this double-page spread. What you should really be doing is taking out all of the horrible people that are making Gotham a terrible place to live. And this Midnight guy really revels in that. And he is also like an insane serial killer. So he doesn't actually really care about law and order and making the city a safer place to live. He's using that as, I don't know, kind of an excuse to... And he also doesn't seem to only be killing bad people. And this is, I guess, the problem with having not read the other 9 issues, is I don't really understand how he gets to I all these people he's killed, and the argument he's making to Batman, because one of the people that he's killed is a woman that Batman, I can't tell if he was in love with her or was dating her or wanted to date her, but she was a cop who had the same kind of tragic backstory that he did, where her father was killed. Her father was a cop and killed, not in the line of duty, but like out of uniform. And she becomes a cop for the same reason Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. And it's really similar to, this is another weird connection to something recent we've done on the channel. It's a really similar situation to the female officer that Bruce Wayne falls in love with in Batman the Imposter from Black Label, which just came out a couple years ago, and Austin and I praised that up and down for that idea. I had never seen that before, but this predates that by like 13, 14 years. So kind of shocking to see that here. But I didn't get to live with that character because she's dead now, and this guy, as alluded to on the cover, Midnight, has her heart in a jar, and he has all these hearts, and there's a big full page spread where he just says, "I'm all heart." Yeah, here it is. There is a heart motif here, kind of like the Tony Stark one, except twisted and perverted. And the idea is that the irony is supposed to be, again, I feel like I've kind of been here and done this with a lot of things before. The irony is that this villain does not have compassion, does not have empathy, but is obsessed with the idea of the heart. And the big thing, and this is driven home at the end in a pretty, on the nose, kind of in your face sort of way. The idea is the big thing that separates him and Batman, besides the fact that Batman's not a serial killer and he doesn't keep trophies of people's hearts like this and put them in boxes and give them to people. This guy's just like Batman, except for that. No, the big difference between them is that Batman actually cares, that he has not lost complete touch with his humanity, even though he does use fear as a tool. He's not interested in the kind of law and order that this guy is selling, where you just keep people terrified and traumatized all the time, and that's how you get them under your thumb and control them. Of course, another way this guy controls people is he literally, physically does that with some kind of mysterious agent that he's given to a lot of the villains that are doing his bidding because they are susceptible to his suggestion with whatever this agent is that he's given them. And that's kind of the big mystery of this issue, is Batman is trying to figure out how he's controlling the villains and why the Joker is immune. Apparently the Joker is just insane enough, too far gone, that this doesn't actually really work on him. And this part of it feels very much like Hush, which came out only a few years earlier and is using some of the same villains as well. So there's a list of everybody who he's controlling, and of course Catwoman is here. Who else is mentioned? Of course, the Joker, as I said, he's given this agent to as well. There was one that I never heard of before. Oh, here we go. Scarecrow, Killer Croc, Catwoman, Joker, and Axeman. Who the heck is Axeman? I'm not familiar with that villain. Okay, since we're here, I'm going to backtrack for a second and talk about this insanity. So the weirdest stuff that Kelly Jones does in this book is not Batman's outfit. I don't understand why sometimes the bat symbol is black and sometimes it's yellow. At the end, it's like a bright yellow. I don't know how that happens. Maybe he changed suits at some point. Maybe he's got like interchangeable bat symbols in the middle of his chest. That'd be kind of cool, I guess. You could take them in and out. Sort of like the circle thing on the top of the GameCube. if you're not familiar, that actually pops off, and there were other ones you could buy and put on them. We didn't do much with that here in America, but you could do that in Japan. I digress. But it'd be fun if Batman had one of those. I guess maybe sort of like in the Batman, you could pull it off and throw it at people. What is happening with the Batcave in this? I thought we were on an alien planet. I thought we were in some kind of like time machine or a space station. I'm not kidding, guys. This is the Batcave. This is what Kelly Jones' Batcave looks like. I can only imagine what Steve Niles thought of this when Kelly Jones turned it in. Like, yeah, this is what our Batcave is going to look like. Like, oh, okay. It's in like a futuristic. This is like the arcade of 2099. Like, what am I looking at? What is this? Batman's got all these weird multicolored controls. He's wearing a bizarre like VR headset or something. Like what does he live in Tron or something, or like in the TARDIS? This is one of the most baffling things I've ever seen in a Batman comic. And like, I really didn't think he was in the Batcave. I was trying to figure out where he was and what was happening. No, Batman built that. That's where he lives. It's crazy. Another thing that's kind of crazy is the idea that Bruce Wayne has his own private chocolatier that makes chocolates for him. Apparently that's a thing. Yeah. Because, like, also some other things I've been reviewing lately, our villain is going after Bruce Wayne and not Batman. And he brings Bruce Wayne a heart box that has his cop girlfriend's physical, actual heart in it, which is obviously really screwed up and is disturbing. But I was very distracted by the idea that Bruce Wayne has his own private chef that makes him chocolates. Gordon brings that up, and it's really weird. So you get to the end of this, and Batman has a tete-a-tete, a face-off with this villain with Midnight, who I guess only strikes after midnight, which is really typically when I'm shooting these as well, really. And they have these panels where they're facing off. There's not much going on in the backgrounds of them, and they're contorting their hands at each other. And Batman looks like he's part of like an old Gothic piece of artwork. Like he just doesn't even look human when Kelly Jones draws him. This is a kind of a straight up horror comic, which is what Jones likes to draw and Niles likes to write. And like I said, it's like I guess there's bits of this I'm kind of making fun of, or more just I'm perplexed by, but I actually think this is all this kind of old EC. I want to say it kind of looks a little bit like that, not just because in this panel this villain looks a little bit like the Crypt Keeper, but it's a little EC comics. It's a little pulpy early horror, like 40s 50s horror comics, but it's very appropriate for that material. So anyway, with no intention of actually following through because he knows what Batman's response is going to be, Midnight comes into this and says and does the very typical ploy, saying to the hero, I want you to join me. Because ostensibly they have the same goal, and obviously they don't. They are complete opposites. But this is another one of those kind of dark mirrors for Batman. This is the kind of psychopath that Batman could be if he let himself go, or if you went to the furthest ends, the nines, with Batman's MO, if not his philosophy. But he knows, yeah, there it is. There's the yellow bat symbol. But he knows that Batman is going to say no. So his real plan is to bring all of Batman's villains to him that he's controlling and get them to kill him after he denies Midnight. And then Midnight is going to continue taking over the city. And so all of the villains show up. Is that Man-Bat? Who is that? Or is that supposed to be Axeman? But it looks like Man-Bat. I don't know. He's got does he have wings? I can't really tell, but he's got like big bat ears. Anyway, and so you've got Scarecrow. We're going for kind of the horror motif villains here, of course, and Catwoman. Or maybe that guy in the background there is X-Man. But yeah, Scarecrow, you got Killer Croc, you got Catwoman there in the background. And then Batman says, Midnight's like, he's sicking all the villains on him. Because Batman's not going along with him. And then at the end, you get this kind of surprised last panel where Batman says, "Oh no, I'm ready for this. I've got you right where I want you." Like his plan was apparently this all along, or he was expecting this, or he's got something up his sleeve. It's actually a really good cliffhanger. And this would be a neat pinup if you like the gothic imagery of this and the kind of horror of it all. I was bewildered by a lot of this, especially the Bat computer and all the circuitry in the Batcave, all the technology. It's really strange. But overall, I actually kind of enjoyed this. I actually kind of want to see what the rest of this is. It's not, exactly my bag. It's not really what I go for Batman in general, although I certainly can appreciate some horror in my Batman, but this is some kind of surrealistic stuff. I want to say that in places, Jones's Batman even looks a little bit like Mike Mignola, but like a totally unreserved, let out of his pen Mike Mignola, like just going real far off with himself into crazy town. Maybe someday I'll review the rest of this. It's entertaining, if nothing else. What a strange read. This is probably the oddest and most surprising comic I've read for Bat March. Certainly, no question. Like the Riddler thing I did yesterday was weird. This is out there. But maybe for the whole year so far. I am recommending this if you want to raise an eyebrow and have your expectations subverted, I guess. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another Batman comic, and I'll be real surprised if it's as nuts and odd and surprising as this one is, but we'll try. We'll see what we end up with. Once again, as always, I'm Captain Logan, and happy reading.